you come to church where we are determined to have social distance. As for that place, the devil is a liar.
So that's Bishop Charles Ajinasari, a very passionate speech from the pulpit. Now, a number of pastors have also been speaking. A founder of the Porters Family Chapel, Prophet Alex Armstrong, over last weekend also called for an equal application of the law against those who openly flouted the law imposed by the president following the outbreak of COVID-19, referring to what happened at the NPP's primaries. Now, the latest who also add his voice is Bishop Samuel N. Mensah, president of the Full Gospel Church International. Listen to what he said.
A rally or what have you of the NPP, and look at this: no social distancing, no face masks. All these things is going to increase the rise of the COVID, and it will multiply. And in the next 2 weeks, we may probably have another 5,000 riser. Now we are around 13,000, 14,000. In 2 weeks from this situation, it's going to increase by 5,000 more. And unfortunately, when they come to church, then they will say that it is the church that has produced this. And they have stayed there for more than 2-3 hours. And yet they said for church, we must only meet for 1 hour. And some churches, when they met during the lockdown, they have been jailed. And yet these people are doing what they don't need to do. It is like 4 legs bad, 2 legs good. If the law is the law, everybody must obey the law. And I want you to understand, whether you see me by video or by any media, don't follow the politicians. They are not thinking about your well-being. I'm saying politicians, whether NDC politicians or MPP politicians or WXYZ politicians, they don't care about you. They care about their election. And whether you are alive or not, whether 1 million people die, they don't care. So don't follow them. Don't follow them. Fight your children, because nobody will take care of them for you. May God give us wisdom. May God guide us.
So that is Bishop Samuel N. Mensah. He'll join us shortly on the show. But there's also an online petition gathering signatures from Christians for the equal application of the law, and also to secure the freedom of the pastors who were jailed. You remember some pastors, especially in the Ashanti region, were jailed. They were arrested twice and jailed. They're serving a term for breaching the laws on COVID-19 as far as the church is concerned. Tonight we're asking the question, are we being too hard on the church? And then we'll have an assessment of how it has been 2 weeks after the president gave the orders for the church to open up to have services, but under some measures. Connecting with us today is Apostle Raymond Aqua of Perez Chapel International. Apostle, good evening and thanks for joining us here on Ghana Connect.
Good evening and thanks for having me.
Good to have you, sir. We also have Bishop Samuel N. Mensah. He's the president of the Full Gospel Church and executive member of the Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. Thank you very much, Bishop, for joining us.
You're welcome, and good evening to your viewers and listeners.
Bishop Benny Wood is also with us. He is a friend of the show and also with the Concerned Clergy Association. Bishop, we're glad to have you tonight.
Thank you for having me, and good evening to your viewers and listeners.
We'll be joined shortly by Apostle Abraham Lincoln, and also we have on stream Reverend Abraham Ofosofo. He's the second minister, Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Salvation Congregation at New Achimota. Reverend, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
I want to start with you, Apostle Raymond Aqua. We had Bishop this week speaking very passionately about the measures that have been imposed on the church, and really what he thinks that is a satanic agenda to push Christians out of church. Many didn't quite understand. You are close to him. He is your father. I'm sure you can espouse more on what the bishop was saying.
Thank you. I think that what the bishop said was very, very clear, and there's no ambiguity about what he said. In fact, he indeed calls it a satanic agenda to stop Christians from going to church, and the reason is simple. you notice that the hype and the attention and the comments made about opening the churches and all the commentaries that were run made it look as if the church was a very, very separate entity from society. And we all know that when you go to our marketplaces, the kind of protocols we observe in church is never observed in any market in Ghana. When you go to the malls, you go to the schools, you go to any place where the public gathers, there is nothing like any of the protocols that have been outlined being observed there. And so it is quite strange. In the church, we are supposed to observe certain protocols, and to the best of our abilities, all the churches, as far as we know, are doing their best to ensure that they observe the protocols.
But Bishop, when I go to the supermarket, I am made to wash my hands, sanitize before I enter.
Well, you can talk about few places. I mean, we all live in Accra. I live in Accra, actually. And we all know that there are places where protocols are not observed. There are places in our markets where people gather in their thousands. We are not saying that people shouldn't observe protocols. That's not what we are saying. But the point being made is that the picture shouldn't be created as if the church is a very dangerous place. It's as if when you are entering any church auditorium, it's as if you are entering into a den of the virus. That cannot be acceptable. That is not right. Because the church, most of the churches have fumigated their compounds, they have the Veronica basket, they are practicing social distance, and so on and so forth. So it cannot be as if the church is a place where the virus is sitting. That is not acceptable.
And who, in your view, is preaching and perpetrating this opinion that the church is a dangerous place?
Well, I wouldn't want to personalize any of these discussions, but we all know what is happening. You go on social media, it's as if, and to some extent, we also speak to our members. You notice that in Bishop's comment, he was speaking to the church members and saying that, look, don't say and don't think that it's as if when you come to church, you are being endangered, because that is not the case. You are not being endangered by coming to church, because the protocols put in place in church is actually safer than the other places you probably will go to and not observing and not having of those protocols being observed. So if not for nothing at all, the church is really, and the church is very, very safe for any Christian who goes to church. And we think that those who are hearing and those who fall within the bracket of those who must go to church should take the liberties of going to church and not be cowed down to seem as if when you go to the market you are free, but when you come to church you are endangered. You are not endangered.
And we'll come back to this because we have a lot of comments on that. People still think that all the church is really interested in is the monies, the offerings, and so that is why you are pushing for some of these measures to be eased, so you can have a lot more people come to church, and then your offerings can definitely go up. But I'll come back to this angle of the conversation. Let me go to Bishop Mensah. Bishop, if you can hear me, I just want to start with you on this note. How has it been for you? 2 weeks of easing of the restriction. I don't know if you have started church already.
Well, thank you very much. Indeed, we prepared our people 1 month before the president gave the address and eased the restrictions. And we came up with a very comprehensive, protocol arrangement from the entrance of the main gate up to the content of the service and the management. Initially, we proposed 1.5 hours of service, long before the president actually even gave the address and restricted it to 1 hour. So we were fully prepared. We took all our pastors through the necessary training and the preparation. They contacted the members indeed. So, but we decided that we will open the church 2 weeks after the president's address. So we did. Naturally, people were not too certain. About 60% out of the 100, about 60 showed up because they weren't too certain. There are people who say wait and see. And most of our branches, about 70% were present in terms of the 100 sitting arrangement. And so people were not too, they are just apprehensive. They are not too certain whether they have the mindset that perhaps when they come to church, well, that is where they will catch the virus. Now, our responsibility is now to disorient them and reorient their mind But listen, there is nothing wrong about it. So, yes, we are prepared, and our people have been doing the services now.
You said you proposed 1.5 hours. Now you've had to do it in just 1 hour. I don't know if that is enough for you and how you're managing that.
Certainly, the 1 hour, we don't pray, we say the exhortation, because it's just a quick rush system. So definitely it is not enough. But, let me say this, for the church, our constitution is the Bible, all right? And we are guided by the Bible. And the Bible tells us that we should not forsake the gathering of believers and one another. However, the same Bible recognizes every authority instituted in any nation. And the Bible recognizes that we should submit to the ruling government. And therefore, the 1 hour that was given, it was our responsibility based upon the church's constitution, which is the Bible, to submit to the authority. It is not enough, but we are making good use of it, pending a further discussion with government so that they can expand, give some liberty of room, either 1.5 hours or 2 hours maximum for services.
Let me go to Bishop Benny Wood. Bishop, can you just run me through what a Sunday would look like with just 100 people and doing service in just 1 hour?
Thank you very much. I think that Bishop S.N. Mensah has really done enough justice to that particular angle of the service. I mean, in fact, it is just a rush-in system. You just come in, short prayer, short praise and worship, short words. So
if you can put some time to it for me, that will paint a better picture. So you have, say, prayer for 15 minutes, praise and worship follows.
Prayer for 10 minutes, praise and worship about 10 minutes. The word of God, is about 20-25. The rest is used for announcements and other things, and then we are out. But the point I really wanted to make is that people don't understand what church is all about. And that is why we have been given such draconian guidelines. If we understand, because, people say that church is, we are the church, the body. As a believer, your body is the church. But you see...
Bishop, did you just say the measures are draconian?
Yeah, it is. Very, very, very draconian. In fact, I don't think there's any institution in this world that is following the protocols that have been given to the church. You understand? Our gathering is not based on anything apart from the fact that we have a divine mandate and authority to oversee our members, which is clearly spelled in the Word of God. The gathering is a very important aspect. See, the Bible says God lives in us. But Jesus said, where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am in their midst. So there's a church as a body of human beings, and there's a church as a gathering. And that is what the world doesn't understand. So people are just shouting, church, church, you are the body of church. But our gathering is also a church. And so when we meet, it's as important as our body, as far as the scriptures are concerned, because he said, I am in your midst. So when we gather, he's not just in us, he also manifests in the environment that we are in. So wherever we meet, the environment changes. It doesn't become ordinary. So people should.
But Bishop, you are still meeting now. Of course, for months, your services were called off because of the necessary measures that we needed to put in place. Now we have the opportunity to serve. To have service, and you're meeting your people, except that there are a few limitations, and so it's not as if the church is still shut.
No, that's not what we are saying. I mean, we are being treated as if we are under a state of persecution. So it's like Chinese. We are being treated like Chinese Christians. You go underground, worship God very fast, get out. That is unacceptable. I mean, so they can say they have given us some time to worship, but that system they are giving us to pray is a system that is being used in countries where Christians are being persecuted. And that's something they must understand.
Okay. Bishop, hold on there for me. Let me go to Reverend Abraham Bufori. Reverend Abraham Bufori, I know that you are with the Presbyterian Church, and for those of you in the Orthodox Church, there isn't much accusation in your direction, because the perception out there is that you are able to manage your time more than your brothers in the charismatic and Pentecostal settings. Tell me how church has been in the last 2 weeks.
Yes, well, it's not been as we have wanted it to be. For example, my local congregation numbers on the roll up to like 1,500. And so when you are asking 100 people, when you are asking us to have a meeting where we should have 100 people, then during a Sunday where you have about 600 people coming to church, then it means that we're going to run about six services. For the past 2 Sundays, we've been doing 2 services, and we have not had praises, so it's just the opening, the song ministration, and the word goes for about 20 minutes, and then after that we say our benedictions and we are done. What I'll say is that we are not having it as we would have wished to have it, but also I would say that, well, at least we are better off than the days where the church went under serious persecution in the early church, when they had to sneak and hide in certain places in order to worship God. But if the restrictions will be further eased, I think that it will do all of us some kind of a good.
Yeah. And so you agree with Bishop Ajinasai when he says that this is an attack against the church?
Yes, throughout the ages, the churches or the church has always been under attack. Because for me, I believe, for example, in the scripture given us in Matthew chapter 16, that the church is the only institution that has been ordained by God to solve the problems of humanity. And so yes, it's understandable, it's agreeable that the bishop will say that the church is under attack to some extent, because yes, the devil knows that it is in the church that quite a number of people will have their liberation, so forth and so on. You see, let me come in with this. For example, if most churches have all nights on Fridays, and definitely you would have people coming to all nights, and there are going to be word of revelations concerning people and concerning the evil that is going to happen in their life.
And I would have been on my way tonight to 2.5 night service because it's end of month, and I would have been in church.
Yes. So, and you know that in those ministries, the Lord really manifests. There are revelations of probably the works and the attacks of the enemy. And so you realize that if these meetings are not going to hold, or if these meetings are not going to come up, then you realize that some of these interventions which would really have happened during the services are not going to happen. And like Bishop said, we've been talking about redoing the church, but there's something with the gathering. And there's something with the gathering. That's why the Lord says that we shouldn't forsake the assembly of the gathering. Yeah, so for me, I think that I'll agree with the bishop when he says that the church to some extent is under attack.
Apostle Abraham Lincoln also joins us via Zoom, but I'll stay with you, Reverend Abraham, shortly before I move to Apostle Lincoln. So you mentioned that you have about 1,500 people, but you've had to do only 2 services. And that will mean a maximum of 200 people. How are you then able to meet the spiritual needs, so to speak, of the rest? That's 1,300.
Yes, so you see, among the 1,500 or the 1,300 we're talking about, you have those beyond the ages of 65 years and above. For those people who have been asked to stay away from the churches, you also have those who have certain conditions, who have also been asked to stay away from the churches. And so we are now devising a means to be able to meet the...
And the children, I guess.
Yes, and the children as well. And so we are now devising a means to meet the spiritual needs of those people. And I don't know, but because of the restrictions, the way the restrictions were announced, then it has sunk into the minds of people that the church is a place, it has kind of been portrayed as the church is a place where, people will go and contract the virus. And so we are even now encouraging our members to come to church. Yes.
Let me go to Apostle Lincoln. Apostle, I think you would have to unmute your audio there so we can hear you. Apostle, if you can hear me, you would have to unmute so we can hear you. Because I want to find out from you if you perhaps are still considering the online service because of the peculiar situation. Reverend Abraham has had to have only just 200 people in a day. The rest of the 1,003, let's say approximately 1,000 people, because there are some who are exempt, are not met, and so there's a need to still continue with the online service. Is that something that you are adapting permanently going forward? Well, I think that Apostle Lincoln cannot hear him. Can you take that from me, Apostle Ramonakwa? The prayers don't take such a huge number of people, and I guess that has become difficult. How many services do you have in a day, by the way?
So far we have only 2 services, and this is one of the problems we are complaining about. Rightly, like Reverend Abraham Ofori did mention, we have been made to believe that the churches and everything being done so far as this COVID is concerned has to do with the sciences. Science has to do with data, and science has to do with some level of accuracy. So if you tell somebody who has an auditorium of 1,500 members that you can meet with only 100 of your members in an auditorium at a time,
Hello, I can hear you now, yes. Apostle Lincoln, you just joined us. Welcome to Ghana Connect, but I think we can hear from Apostle. Yes, Apostle Aqua, your line went off. We can now hear you.
All right. So the point being made here is that it is not adding up. For the Perez Dome, for example, that has an auditorium that sits over 10,000 people, and then you tell the church that all you can have on a Sunday is to have 100 people in that auditorium. I mean, what is the science? We really need to understand what the whole science is all about. As of now, like Bishop Mensah mentioned, we are a church, and we believe also in the state, and we believe that the state must be respected. And so we are doing so, and therefore we will still have to continue with our online services until a time where we believe that the government will have to critically and urgently look at the measures they put in place and quickly revise it, because it is not adding up. If it is a science that is, leading in all the things that is being done so far, then we need to understand what actually the whole science is about. Because for a 10,000-seat auditorium, have 100 people. For a church, for a school, the size of the hall, the size of the hall may be about 200 students, and you say that the children can go to school. So which science are we actually following? And so we think that all these things put together make you have a certain impression that, look, somebody probably may be looking at something apart from just making sure that we are protected from the virus.
And what is your expression?
Well, so far, with everything I've seen so far, I think that there is something more that we don't know, or there is something more to what we are seeing going on. Because, look, if that is not the case, then what explanation are we going to give to even government officials and politicians having rallies, having big crowds gather, no social distancing, no face mask, no washing of hands, no hand sanitizers, nothing, and they gather in their houses, not for 1 hour, not for 2 hours, but for 3 hours, in some cases for 4 hours, and nobody says anything. A pastor meets his congregation, less than 30 people, then he's told that he broke in a room to go to jail, and the man is still languishing in jail as we speak. What kind of explanation goes for this one?
Apostle, I'll come back to this, and I'll come back to you on that, because Bishop Mensah also spoke very passionately about this issue. But I want to stay with you, Apostle Aqua. You have a huge auditorium. If you are to observe proper social distancing, how many people can your auditorium take? And would you be pushing that if the measures are to be eased, your church, for instance, Perez Chapel, will be allowed to take that number of people?
See, I think, I'm sure you may be very conversant with the auditorium.
Very conversant.
JoyFM does the
I don't praise every year.
And I want to believe that you have the numbers as to the number of people you gather in this auditorium. Thousands and thousands of people, all right?
Yeah.
And so if we are to even do the 1 meter social distancing, and with all the big entrances we have all around the auditorium, it should be convenient enough for us to have much more people than the 100 people being talked about. Now, don't also forget that even though you meet 100 people in your auditorium, irrespective the size of your auditorium, you are still going to spend the same amount of money on electricity. You are still going to spend the same amount of money on all other things you have to do because, I mean, you still have to use the same quantity, the same, power and all the other things you have to use. And so this whole thing must be looked at properly. There are auditoriums in different sizes. Why can't we say that, look, for an auditorium of this size, have this number of people, just observe the 1 meter distance. We are seeing, we are not an island. Ghana is not an island. We have neighbors like Nigeria. We have neighbors in other places. And we see them on social media. Are we saying that they don't love their people? Are we saying that they don't care whether people die or not? That is not the case. However, they are able to make churches meet. They observe the social distancing. They observe the protocols, but they are allowed to meet in a more conducive atmosphere. And this is what we should know. And you see, don't let us forget something. Let me add this to it. Very, very important. That church is much more than people think it is. Some people have just limited church to we coming to just wanting to feel good. Even for the state, the churches are playing a very important role that the state is not able to play. Why am I saying this? Because if not for the church, there will be a lot more suicides than we are seeing in our country. Because for lots of people who are so hopeless, who have nowhere to go to, nobody to turn to, the only place where they find solace is in the church. When they come together and they meet people, they are happy, they hear the words of hope and encouragement, it gives them some hope. They come, they pray, they feel lighter. So if not for nothing at all, the state should consider that the church is playing a role, the church is filling a vacuum, that the state has failed to fill.
And indeed, there is concern about mental health care within the spread of the COVID-19. Apostle, I'll come to you briefly later, so we talk about what is happening elsewhere that we can adapt. But Bishop Bennywood, you heard Apostle talk about the money aspect of it, that regardless of the numbers that you host or entertain, you still would have to spend, if not the same, more on electricity and all the other things. That for some people comes back to the issue of money and the church, and which is why they think that you are pushing this because you still want people to come to church so you can just get the offerings. You're not thinking about saving lives and protecting your members.
All right. I think that you have two questions. First of all, in terms of the numbers, I think that instead of giving specific figure, if the figure had been in percentage, that would have been better. For example, if you said the church like Perez should have 25%, that means they have to break their churches into 4. And once they have 25% capacity in the auditorium, the social distance automatically is established. You don't even have to do it. So I think that if they have done it in percentages, that would have been the best, 25% or 50% or whatever. But 100 as a specific number, I think that is completely off, because you pass laws to solve problems, and so what problem are they trying to solve? Because they created other problems. Now, in the area of money.
Yes, Apostle Lincoln will come to you shortly, Bishop. Yeah.
Okay.
Bishop, please go ahead.
Okay. So I'm saying that in the area of money, I mean, it's very funny when people talk about money, but see, people don't look at what people have become by going to church. There are so many people who have been a major burden on the state, but for the church. Somebody like me, nobody would have known what I would have become if not for the church. So we have to understand the spiritual impact, the benefits, irrespective of what people see the church to be. It is the only institution that puts conscience, lively conscience in people. So somebody may be doing wrong, but if he's a church person, there's a limit as to what the person can do, because at a point in time, that conscience will be pricked. You understand? So people should understand that. Apart from that, the church is not just there to collect people's money. There are many people who go to church for money, because some of them cannot take care of their rent, they cannot take care of their school fees, they cannot take care of even what they eat, and it's the church that takes care of them. We have heard many times where churches pay hundreds of people's school fees and all that. So the church is not just there to take people money. Now listen, if people think that coming to church will endanger your life, but we don't care. We want the people to come and die. If it is true that it's because of money we want them to come, when they come and they die, who will bring the money? I think the world should give us a bit of sense of wisdom. We are not just, excuse me to say, a group of people who have gathered particularly to take people's money. Most pastors are professionals. They can do other things, and in Ghana, people don't know. All right, when you go to other places, pastors who are doing professional work outside their pastoral work and bringing in money, especially when you look at charismatic churches, what the people call so-called one-man churches. The pastor invests all his time, his money, his family time, his marital time, everything into the church to grow it up and build people up. So we should not just focus on money and just think that when we want to collect people's money, because maybe they have seen one or two people display money, so everybody thinks that we want to gather the people because of money.
And the spiritual aspect is definitely important. Let me go to Bishop Mensah. Bishop, you were passionate this week. You spoke very passionately following what you saw at the NPP's primaries. And you joined calls for the pastors who have been jailed to be released or granted amnesty. Is it just because of what you saw at the NPP's primaries? Is that enough justification for the president to release them, to grant them amnesty?
Well, thank you very much. You see, if the law is the law, and that everybody must submit himself or herself to the law, then it means no one is above the law. So if in the view of the law, a pastor was convicted and, was convicted because he disobeyed the law and has been jailed, and now we have a ruling government where they have shown disregard, total disregard to the same law, then something is totally wrong, and that is why we are calling on the president to grant amnesty, because it's not being we are not fair to the system and to the law, and therefore that is the reason why the people that have been jailed, president must give amnesty to show. To offer the only leave, the only free, or the only leave to them that, look, this is what we can do.
And to show some fairness, I guess. But the other argument is that why not push for those who have also flouted the law to be punished?
No, we have asked that those who flouted the law should be held responsible. That is, those who stood for the primaries, that organized the primaries, and they had their people come in there to vote, and they disregarded all the various COVID protocols, must be held responsible. I mean, some of them were sitting MPs. They must be held responsible. Those who also won, whatever group stood for those elections, must be held responsible. But you see, we have witnessed a system where one time a whole foot soldiers went to overturn the court, all right, to the extent that the judge had to run away. Government of the day couldn't do anything. To get them arrested. We have seen people flaunting, that frowns on the law with impunity. And this is an insult to our freedom and justice that we uphold. And that is why President must extend an amnesty to those people. And to show that, listen, I concede that our people, our ruling party didn't do well. And therefore, if in the view of the law, the pastors have been jailed, let me give them amnesty to make people, at least to pardon them. That's what we are asking for.
Okay, this is still Ghana Connecting on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Ernest. I want to hear your views. A lot of you have sent us messages. I'll be reading them shortly, but I still want to hear some more views from you if you're listening. 0244340437. That's the WhatsApp number, 0244340437. Let me come back to you, Apostle Lincoln. You join us. Apologies for the hitches there, but how has church been for you since you started 2 weeks ago?
So our side, we've not started yet because of some challenges. We've moved to different grounds altogether. So we are just putting things into place. But to me, what is happening I see like a witch hunting. Knowing what is happening, because this coronavirus issue has made this government to really like witch hunting to the church. Because
you're saying the church is being witch hunted.
If you talk about, I am telling you, Ernest, listen to my side. Listen to my side. That is for no opinion. That is, if you can go to Parliament for restricting the executive instrument, whatever law, pass a law whereby you will tell the church that don't do this, don't do that. Meanwhile, your own people, your own party people, promise no social distancing, nothing whatever. They influence the law, and nobody will arrest them. Now the pastor will just gather people and project them. Look, what is happening? We have to really go into it deeper. No, we have problem. Listen, no, we know this COVID-19 matter is a problem. We all know. Everybody is praying. Italy said that they have exhausted everything that they have. Now they are looking unto God. I believe the area that we have to look at. Let us go to church and pray and believe God. Now I heard Bishop saying that the church, if you build church or if you are doing church because of money, so you say church should not based on money, based on the fact that you have a divine mandate to fulfill. Now the church, the money will come when you've made impact in people or on people. Whereby they have results, they will come and say, Pastor, I just want to sow a seed into the church. It shouldn't be based on money, but it should be based on what the divine mandate, what God has asked you to do. And do you understand?
Yes,
God has asked you to do. It shouldn't be based on the fact that you are doing church because you want money. You are doing church because the president will allow us to do church because we don't need money. Pastors, we don't need money. We need to do the work of God. We need to listen. This thing happened in Acts chapter 1. The Holy Ghost came upon them. Acts chapter 3, the cripple walk. Acts chapter 4, they persecuted the church. So the early apostles have to run. Some have to run to different places. Persecution. This is a persecution in a disguise form.
So, Apostle, going forward, what would you want to see? First of all, you have the 100 limitation of your members. Secondly, you have to do that in 1 hour. Yes, please go ahead.
The 100 people, me personally, I don't really side with that.
I think that we have a terrible connection to you, Apostle. We'll correct that briefly and then we'll come to you. Let me go to Apostle. Yes, Bishop, you can come in. Apostle, just hold on for us.
Yes, and may I probably share some people on the church issue and the money?
Yes, please, go ahead, Bishop.
It is said that, money is the wheel that drives the church. Money is the wheel that drives the gospel. Now, this country, as we take now, cannot survive without money. JoyFM cannot survive without money. No organization can survive without money. So it can be said about the church. And I think that the church owes nobody apology. If people begin to accuse the church that the church is interested in money, the church owes nobody apology, because money is the wheel that drives any system, including the government of Ghana, including JoyFM as an institution, including all the organizations. We can't do without it. But the point is that it is not fair when people begin to think that it is because of money. Now, what was the reason why the lockdown initially was going to be about 3 months? How come we couldn't survive, we couldn't go beyond the 3 months? Because government was cash-strapped. Government ran out of funds. That is why government had to come in. It was economic reason that let's relieve the people, otherwise we cannot sustain them. It's money. So the church has no apology that when people are saying that the church is about money, the church is not about money, but money is critical to run the church also.
Very well. At this point, I want us to read the comments that are coming in from our listeners who are listening to us from all over the world. All right, so some of the comments coming in. This one from Frank from Dakuman says, please, I believe the reason for the 100 is for contact tracing. 100 members by all churches in Ghana is a lot of people to manage in terms of contact tracing. I don't know how you respond to that, Apostle Aqua.
Well,
it does make sense, doesn't it?
No, I beg to differ. I think that, you see, the church is one of the most well-organized groups we have in this country. The church is one of the most see, during the lockdown period, the government tried to distribute food to the vulnerable in society. We all saw the mess that was created. When the church went in to distribute food, we saw the orderliness with which they did it. The church is really, really, really organized. We can account for the thousands of members we have in our churches. So nobody should underestimate the organized level of the church. We are very, very well organized. And if you will beg me, if you permit me, I would want to make a quick comment on this. When we talk about money in the church, please, nobody should mistake this. Sacrifice is one of the cardinal principles of our faith. Sacrifice is one of the cardinal principles of our faith. And so when we take out sacrifice out of Christianity, we have nothing left. And when we talk about sacrifice, we are talking about sacrifice in totality. Every single man of God worth his salt is a sacrificial person. Every single pastor worth his salt is a sacrificial person. And so it should be made clear that we believe this is the word of God. We practice what the word of God says. People don't have a problem when the church preaches on holiness. People don't have a problem when the church preaches about heaven. People don't have a problem when the church preaches about hell. People don't have a problem when the church preaches about worship. But suddenly, people have a problem when the church begins to talk about money. Why is it so? And this should make every Christian to begin to think that there is something, because the devil knows, according to Zechariah, it says, my city through prosperity shall spread abroad. If the church has more money, the church will win more souls, the church will do more things. And the devil knows that, and that is the reason why the devil is beginning to talk so much about the fact that the churches are taking offerings. But we build our church buildings. We use money to build it. When the churches have to go and build schools and do crusades, we use money to do it. Without money, it is not possible for the church to do anything. And so let us make this point that money is very, very important as far as church is concerned. In the days of Jesus, he took offering. In the days of the apostles, offering was taken. In the days of Jesus, he spoke about tithes. And in this generation, we also have to speak about money.
Very well. Thank you very much. I'll come back so that we wrap up. We have just 7 minutes more to go. But let me read a few more of the messages coming in. This one says, seriously, one thing that is consistent with government is the selective application of the law. It has no name. And this one says, I'm a Muslim, but I agree with the pastors who are saying that they must be allowed to operate since they are ready to observe social distancing. The church will invite God to help deal with the pandemic. The church has never failed, and that is coming from someone who says he is a Muslim. And this one says, if the NPP members can congregate and disregard the protocols, why not the church that is ready to observe social distancing? Ghana. And that's Musa from Nima. This one, Josephine from Kumasi, says, the pastors have a point. This government does not punish its members, but everyone is mute. Peace Council can't talk. We are in a democratic dispensation, and government must be seen to be fair. Let the media trumpet the punishment of all NPP members, so we have some action from government. Okay, a few of your messages there. Let me go back. We have just 5 minutes to wrap up on this. Bishop Benny Wood, I want to start with you. Going forward, what do you expect of government, and how should the church position itself because of the peculiar situation in which we find ourselves?
I would say that I think the government should raise the number of people who should attend church from 100 specific to percentage. 25% is ideal. It will create enough room in the auditorium for social distancing while they follow all the other protocols. Number two, the government must know, Africa especially, they have to continuously thank God for the church, because the church is the only institution that gives hope, so that the people will not react. Let me say something quick. The French foreign minister, they did a research in Africa and realized that in case of pandemic explosion, there are 4 levels of groups that can stop revolution and uprising. Number 1 is the church. Number 2 is celebrities. Number 3 is the diaspora, Ghanaians in diaspora. Number 4, businessmen. So we have to understand that even in the outside world, they have realized that the church on the African continent is the reason why this continent is not broken up. So they should understand that. We are the one that is holding the fort and stopping people from excessively reacting towards the corruption and the mismanagement we see in governance on this continent of Africa. The government should team up with the church and see how best they will allow us to break and follow the protocols, but they should remove this draconian law of 100 people, 1 hour business out of the way.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Bishop Benny Wood, a very good friend of the show and the station, and join us for this. Also, let me go to Reverend Abraham before you. Reverend, going forward, what do you expect of government, and what should the church do?
I think that I agree with Bishop when he says that we should rather concentrate on percentages. I think that will be much more convenient. But let me also quickly make a submission with regards to the church and the money. You see, you realize when you look at the history of our nation, we are talking about the first school that was established in Ghana, and it was established by one of the churches, one of the mission churches, that's the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. Look at the secondary schools and the basic schools that are spread across the nation. And most of these institutions were started by the churches. And so when people have spoken about the fact that all we are interested is in money, for me, I do not agree with them. And you see, I have also said that whenever there is a problem, then the government and everybody is calling on the church to come and help. But when the problems are done solved with, and when the church begins to get into politics over and so on, they ask us to stay away from politics. Look at the distribution that was done during the lockdown. The churches involved themselves greatly. And so for me, I do not agree with the people who say that the churches we do meet, or we are calling for the meetings to happen because of the money. That's not it. But I agree with Bishop, and I think that the restrictions should be further eased. I had not thought about the percentage system, but I think that's a very brilliant idea. We should think about the percentages instead of rather the fixed 100 number of people that we are asking for.
Okay, let me go to Apostle Aqua. And Apostle, there's a message coming here. It says, in Europe, soccer is being played without spectators. Or are there nations conspiring against the club owners? How do you react to that as we wrap up on this?
I think that begs the issues. We are talking about two separate things, and I don't think we should derail our discussion.
Very well. So as we wrap up on this.
So as we wrap up, I think that 3 things must be done. Number 1, the government should understand what is good for the goose is equally good for the gander. If they can jail pastors for flouting rules, they should jail the politicians, they should jail the ministers, and they should call all those people book and make sure that they face the same music they made the pastors to face. Now, if they can't do so, then the next thing they must do is that they should release the pastors as soon as possible. Number 2, they should take off these limitations from the church. 100 people having service per Sunday is woefully inadequate. We can consider the quota of having percentages going to church. And then number 3, they should stop persecuting the church. The church is not distributing coronavirus. The church is safe. The church is organized. The church is well mannered and well cultured. The church is a very, very decent place to be. And the church is very, very safe, thinking of its members as well as thinking of the state. And so they should team up with the church. The state should team up with the church, and let's together build Ghana and make it what we want it to be.
I'll give you the last word, Bishop Samuel and Mansa.
Thank you very much, Ernest. Definitely the church, number 1, is ready, and they've been following this COVID protocol, which is one of the most decent ways that people can be safe. And I can guarantee you, the church is more safe in terms of the COVID protocols than even some of our health institutions. Number 2, the percentage quota may be appropriate. If it is the 25%, it will be appropriate. Tell me that the church is the only institution that provides hope and encouragement to people. So the church plays a critical role in nation building and nation development. And finally, there is a need to release these pastors, and as a matter of pardon, that is very necessary. Thank you very much, Ernest.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much, man of God, for connecting with us on today's edition of Ghana Connect. It was such an insightful conversation with you. My church opens this Sunday, Power Victory Chapel, and of course, I will be in church. Indeed, I can't wait as we begin service. I don't know about you. Let us know on 0244340437. You can join me at the Power Victory Chapel, North Legon Branch, Grace Temple. My name is Ernest. That's it for Ghana Connect. First, take us up next. Thank you for connecting.